Welcome back to Chasing Masculinity, the podcast where we explore what it means to live as men in today's world. I'm your host, Colton Wutzke, and I'm excited to dive into today's episode. If you've been following along, you know that our mission here is to challenge the status quo and help men like you step up, not just for themselves, but for the communities that they serve. Today, we're talking about Rule 20 from the 24 Rules of Masculinity. Work to make your world better, not the world. You cannot change the lives of others if your own is in disarray. Now, if you're like most men today, you've probably felt the overwhelming weight of the world's problems. It seems like everywhere you look, someone is shouting about global crisis, climate change, poverty, inequality, and a whole host of other massive issues. And while these issues are important, there's a serious danger when we let them consume us. The pressure to solve the world's problems is especially intense for younger generations. Many of you listening today probably feel like you're supposed to be the ones to fix everything, but you cannot change the world while your own is still in disarray. In today's episode, we're going to reframe that idea and talk about how fixing the world starts with fixing your community and your environment first. We're going to explore how personal responsibility can give you the foundation you need to have a real impact, not just on global issues, but on people and the communities that are right in front of you. So if you're at all feeling overwhelmed by the idea that you have to be the one to solve the world's problems, or if you're just questioning where to focus your energy, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. All right, let's start by talking about the overwhelming burden that's been placed on this generation. There is a weight with all of these global issues that we are constantly being bombarded with. There is a constant pressure on our youth, and this is especially perpetuated with the modern youth, the young-aged social media goers. They're the ones that are seeing all of this firsthand, and they're the ones that are being told they must solve these global crises like poverty, climate change, political instability, and economic inequality. These are all things that are being screamed as the end of the world, and it's up to the next generation to fix. Well, that next generation is here and growing up, and it's scaring them. The idea that you are constantly responsible, or that you are the sole person responsible for solving these massive and complex and often overbloated problems is constantly reinforced in schools and media and just public discourse. I think it's supposed to be encouraging, the idea that you can help fix the world, but what it's really doing is it's paralyzing people. It's pushing them away from wanting to walk out into the grander stage of the world. It's pushing them back into the corner, or it's just making people bitter and resentful and less likely to go out and explore and to try to enjoy all the things that this world really does have to offer. There's this pressure to fix the world. College students and young professionals, they're the ones that are really feeling the weight of this world rest on their shoulders. I remember when I was finishing my degree in engineering at a university in California, we were actually required in one of our courses to design products that directly addressed societal problems such as homelessness or world hunger. We were not allowed to step outside of those bounds. We had to find something, create something, and design something that explicitly fit those bounds, that explicitly helped solve this world problem. And as a 21-year-old engineering student, even I felt overwhelmed by the expectation to tackle these enormous issues while still trying to focus on my passion for engineering. I didn't go to school. I wasn't shoveling out quite a lot of money for what essentially a teenager signed off on to be told that I have to solve the world's problems. To be honest, I didn't even really care too much about it. That's not why I was there. I had my tract. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted my degree so I could go out and do something with that in the world. I knew what I wanted, and honestly, it had nothing to do with solving these social or societal problems that were being pushed on me because, well, I knew that one, in my current position, there wasn't much that I could do about it, and judging by some of my classmates' projects and their examples, they definitely didn't know what to do about it either. And two, a lot of this was just virtue signaling from the university trying to push this onto the students. This isn't what universities, especially public universities, are for. Yes, you're supposed to develop and help bring ideas at the forefront and expose students to that, but pushing agendas is definitely not the place of public universities, and this was very much so. So I'm not saying that I am completely out of tune with the world's problems, but let's be honest here. I have my own problems I have to deal with. I'm not worried about how I'm going to solve Sacramento's homeless problem. That's not why I was there. And I've heard this same experience from many other young professionals that had come out of college, especially more West Coast liberal colleges that are there for STEM. They're there for a very specific reason. They're there to get a very specific degree and go out and do something with it. And they were put in the same box of having this requirement to meet some sort of societal expectation or problem that it's up to them to fix. Their passions, their expertise, they're often pushed to be aligned with these so-called global crises that they aren't even equipped to solve. And this just becomes so much worse because we now have just this constant bombardment with the widespread visibility of all of these global problems. The internet and social media have made global issues more visible, contributing to a heightened sense of urgency. I mean, let's be honest. At this point, news and media are there to sell seats. They're there to get views and to glue you to your screens. Well, that's exactly what they're doing with all of these global crises. If everything is the end of the world, then you're only ever going to be glued to your screen because what could be more important than that? It sells seats. It sells views. It's very effective, but what it's doing is it's completely undermining the mental health and stability of the world around us. What really matters are local communities. If everything is a global issue, then nothing in your community, nothing in your personal life could possibly be more important than that. And with the youth having access to the internet and social media, all these global issues have become much more visible, contributing to this heightened sense of urgency that everything is mission critical. Every day there's something new that is the most important thing in the world. This constant exposure to crises via news, social media, documentaries, whatever it is, reinforces that feeling that it's up to the younger generation to act upon this. It's up to them to fix it, or the world will fall apart. And what does that result in? Obviously, people from Generation Z are going to have much higher stress levels. According to the American Psychological Association's Stress in America 2020 survey, Generation Z reports having the highest levels of stress compared to any other age group. Gee, I wonder why. Generation Z's stress score, 6.1 out of 10, a level significantly higher than any other generations prior. The primary sources of Gen Z's stress are going to be things like, obviously, the pandemic. That was a big one for the developmental ages of a lot of people in Gen Z. But then also all of the civil unrest and the pressure to solve all these global problems. All of these have now become more than just local issues. They've been scaled to be worldwide and affect people at all corners of the globe. And when you think that, then everything that happens, even if it truly is in your backyard, is a worldwide issue. It works both ways. If everything's a worldwide issue, you're not focusing on your community. And if a community issue becomes a worldwide issue, how on earth are you supposed to act to fix it? And this has a major impact on mental health. I'm not usually one that likes to preach about mental health and trauma and try to push that as much as it has been by a lot of people, because I think talking about it and overhyping it is really going to create the discourse that could actually lead to more people wanting to associate with it, which is going to have a negative impact. But the anxiety and depression and burnout are very prevalent as young people are stressed by all these global issues that they honestly feel responsible for. I feel responsible for. And this constant bombardment by the news about these global crises, such as climate change or global warming or whatever it's called now, world hunger, political instability, all of these things, it's going to leave you feeling helpless and overwhelmed. The burden of saving the world. Quote, the future of the world is in your hands. How many times have we heard that? The world is yours. The future's in your hands. It used to be motivational. It used to be inspirational. Now it's paralyzing people because, crap, this isn't a world that I want handed over to me. This doesn't scream opportunity and growth and potential. It screams, this needs fixing, and now it's in your hands. Good luck. The message often passed down in media and education places this immense burden on young people. And I don't mean young people as in 15, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds who have just graduated high school. This could be all the way up into 40-year-olds still. This message is for anybody who is not facing the latter half of life where they're looking at retirement. If you still have a contribution to make, even if you're in your 60s and 70s and you still feel like you have that contribution to make to the world, then this is a paralyzing message. It can create a distraction from what you can actually control in your own life, your personal growth, your local community, and your direct relationships. Because again, if the world is going to collapse tomorrow, then why does it matter what your own community looks like or what your problems look like? They're just insignificant compared to the weight of all these other problems. Therefore, it doesn't make sense to address them. That is what this message is doing, is it's creating a divide from what is the ineffable to what is actually tangible and could be result-driven. So I want to talk about why it is not your responsibility to fix the world. Global problems are way too complex. We need to acknowledge the scale of global issues. Things like world hunger, disease, poverty, all of these other mainstream global crises that you can think of when you think of world issues, they are multifaceted and interconnected and way too vast for one person or even one generation to solve. These problems require immense collaborative efforts involving governments, organizations, and global coalitions. Think of Norman Borlaug. Borlaug, known as the father of the Green Revolution, developed the dwarf wheat varieties that were able to massively increase food production and helped alleviate world hunger in several countries where the arid climate otherwise did not allow them to have food. His work, while monumental, it still didn't solve world hunger entirely. But what he did do is he addressed the problem on a smaller, manageable scale, showing the power of focusing on what one person can control and the downstream effects. It didn't solve world hunger. But what he did was create the dwarf wheat, and that in itself created a legacy for him to focus on, to focus his energy and create his legacy there. And that downstream effect is that it helped millions of people. Borlaug's example teaches that positive change can start with that focused, localized effort rather than just trying to tackle the entire global issue at once. But you have to understand the limit of your individual responsibility. You are not the world's savior. You cannot carry the weight of the entire world on your shoulders. The idea that you alone are responsible for solving all global issues is both unrealistic and unhealthy. That's why you need to focus on your world first. To make a meaningful impact, focus on your community first, your relationships, your neighborhood, your work. You cannot fix the world if your personal life is in disarray. Start with your local community. When you focus on improving the local environment, the personal relationships in your life, the community, your well-being, you can build a strong foundation for broader change over time. I like the quote from Jordan Peterson here. Take responsibility for your own life first. Clean your room, then go out and change the world. Personal growth is the first step. By focusing on your own personal development, your mind, your body, your spirit, you're setting the stage for greater external impact. Leadership starts by leading yourself, which enables you to make better decisions and to contribute more effectively to others. If you're not able to work on yourself first, all you're doing is sending virtue signals to the rest of the world, and that's just essentially complaining with no solution. So I want to talk about the dangers of trying to solve these global issues without first fixing yourself. Your personal disarray is going to lead into ineffectiveness. You could get burnout from tackling too much. Trying to fix global issues before addressing personal and local changes leads to burnout and frustration because let's be honest, what are you going to do? Tweet about it? Many men focus on trying to save the world, but they're going to neglect their own health, their relationships, their career even, which leads to a sense of ineffectiveness and then eventually paralysis. Without a strong personal foundation, attempts to solve global problems are just going to become inefficient and often counterproductive. So you have to focus on the power of self-mastery. True change starts when you're able to master yourself. What does your health look like? Your habits, your mindset. Jocko Willink said, discipline equals freedom. When you take control of your life, you become better equipped to tackle broader issues with clarity and focus. And I don't mean, oh man, I've been working hard in the gym the past 2 years and I've nailed it. Time for me to go solve our homelessness problem. No, it starts small. It's your impact where it is. You might never address, and you probably shouldn't address global issues because let's be honest, most of what the news pushes out is not a problem. It's there to glue you to your screens. So focus on what you can focus on. Make your community the best you can. And that of it in itself will make the world just a better place. That's where you should really be focusing your efforts. When I say go tackle world problems once you've focused yourself, that's it. Focusing on yourself and then turning outward into your community and your direct community and the impact that you can make there, that is making the world better. That's where you should eventually be able to focus all of your efforts. And that's why self-improvement should be a higher priority at the beginning, because you need to build resilience through personal growth. Improving yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, it's going to give you the energy that you need and the focus that you need to go out and then help others. Now, this sounds selfish, but focusing on your own growth first, you're going to lay the foundation for greater service to your community and the world. And this doesn't mean go completely monk mode and just not talk to anybody for 4 years as you develop yourself. But I mean, don't stretch yourself too thin or start impacting yourself negatively because you're putting out too much, because maybe you're not ready. You need to have that internal reflection. Have I worked on myself to the degree that if I pour out into others, it's not going to degrade myself? Is my foundation strong enough where I'm not going to crumble and wither if I'm constantly pouring out into others? That's what you need to look at first. Think of physical fitness. A healthy body is going to give you the energy and resilience to serve others more effectively. Or mental clarity. Developing a strong mind through education, discipline, focus, that's going to enable you to make better decisions and to tackle problems more efficiently. Then even spiritual growth, arguably the most important. Aligning your actions with your core values and purpose is going to give you a deeper sense of fulfillment when you are properly aligned with God. And it's going to give you the motivation to go out and act in the world. It's that proper alignment that's going to guide you. So I kind of talked about it already, but that ripple effect of local efforts, the small actions that are going to lead into big results. It's the power of focusing on small local issues first. Local action is often the most effective way to create real change. It's manageable and it is directly impactful. Small, localized efforts have the potential to snowball and influence larger scale transformations over time. It could be something as simple as a single cleanup event in a neighborhood park. It might seem inefficient. It might seem like the garbage is going to show up the next day. But what if it encourages others to participate? What if it's raising awareness and shifting local habits? This could lead to cleaner, more engaged communities over time. This could become a repetitive thing. This could be the catalyst to enable people to start caring for their community more. The compound effect, where every small manageable action adds up to something much greater. Its real impact starts locally, and then when it's multiplied, it can eventually have those broader societal effects. So that's where that ripple effect comes in, where once one person takes action, they can inspire others to do the same, creating a multiplier effect within your community. The importance of taking action and not just talking about it is fundamental to this, because being overwhelmed is only going to lead to inaction. It's easy to feel paralyzed by the enormity of global problems like climate change, poverty, injustice. I really dislike those words, but that's exactly what comes to mind when you think about global problems. The weight of these issues often leads people to do nothing, believing that their individual actions won't matter. But when you do take action, it's going to encourage accountability. So that's why you need to start with the absolute smallest step that you can. Those small steps are going to lead to real progress. Small efforts in your community, in your house, in your backyard, are going to create tangible change and set a positive example for others to follow. If you are passionate about youth mentorship, starting by mentoring one person could eventually inspire others in your circle to engage in mentoring, creating a bigger impact on your community. There's a balance between the awareness of global issues with local action. Awareness is important, but don't let it paralyze you. It's information overload, as Brett McCracken says in the Wisdom Pyramid. Well, it's important to stay maybe informed about some global issues. Too much exposure to crises can make you feel helpless and anxious. It's just too much. Let's be honest. If a mine collapse in India, yes, that's tragic, that's scary, but does it affect your day-to-day? Or is it bombarding your mind with information that isn't actionable? All it's doing is just adding more things on your mind. It's taking up more storage space, but it's nothing that you can turn around and do something with. All it's doing is filling your tank, but it's not with information that can be used as fuel to create action. That's why too much exposure to crises is going to make you feel helpless and anxious. This feeling is going to prevent you from actually taking meaningful steps in your immediate environment. Like I said, if the information you take in is a gas tank and the only fuel you're putting into it is global issues, that can't be used as the fuel you need to create action. It needs to be fueled by something that's actionable first. So that starts with taking in information that you can actually do something with, that actually matters to you in your life. Think of all the constant news about climate change crises and all the A-list celebrities talking about how the world is ending because it's heating up the earth or cooling it down or whatever's happening. It's just called climate change now because we don't know what's happening. But think about how impactful this seems in the media. Everyone's talking about how it's going to be the end of the world and how we better fix our stuff now. That's going to overwhelm and discourage any person into action. So that's why you have to manage your information intake. Are you actively seeking out global problems? Or are they just flooding your awareness through social media and news, whatever you're taking in that information through? Or are you controlling your focus and limiting your exposure to news outlets and social media feeds so you can focus on problems that aren't actually beyond your ability to influence? Too much negativity is going to lead to that inaction and that stress. So how do you focus on what you can control? One, it has to align your actions with your values. So focusing on actions that align with your values and those that can create real change within your local sphere of influence. If you're passionate about the environment, then focus on just personal practices like reducing your own waste or trying to clean up your neighborhood or whatever that looks like, rather than complaining on X and Facebook or wherever else you are engaged on social media. You also have to ground yourself by focusing on the small actions that keeps you grounded and effective, while also empowering you and fueling you to then continue and take the next step. That's going to have a practical impact. The local actions are actionable and impactful. You might not be able to end world hunger, but volunteering at a local food bank or just starting a community garden or whatever you feel called to that might address a very, very, very small part of that scope in your community, that is actually impactful. That's actionable. That's something that you can do, and a result will actually occur because of it. And there's a power of small local actions building a better world. You can inspire others. Small local incentives are going to spark broader change. And I don't mean you're going to be the cover of all the newspapers in 5 years as the next freedom fighter fighting for whatever your cause is. No, I just mean if you're making your community better, that does make the world better. And maybe the community next door will see that and try to implement that, or it's creating a good example. Whatever that is, it's going to put good out into the world rather than more inaction or disdain. There are compounding efforts. When people see positive local change, they want to be a part of it. It's going to create a cycle of positive action. A local school garden or something. That's a project that can inspire other schools in the area to start their own gardens, ultimately creating that larger community movement. Small changes in your community have much more of a far-reaching effect in other communities as they then lead to larger societal shifts over time. So where does all of this start? Where does all of this stem from? Well, you have to start with yourself. To change the world, you need to first change your world, focusing on your personal growth and local contributions before you try to address anything on a bigger scale. When you improve your life, your perspective shifts from one of hopelessness to hopefully one of possibility and empowerment. Think of just health and fitness. It's going to empower you to be a better leader and role model, creating a positive ripple effect in your community, even if that literally is inspiring people to get in better shape. That of and in itself is a positive impact that you are putting out into the world. Action plus community plus consistency is going to equal transformation. So that consistent local action is the key to sustainable change. By focusing on personal responsibility, you're not just helping yourself, you're inspiring those to do the same. And success in your world could lead to success in others. Your personal victories motivate others to engage with their own communities, or maybe your personal victories are personal victories of others too, because you're directly helping those. It's creating a network of change makers. So all of this has kind of been hypothetical. How can we maybe apply some of this to our lives? Well, first, reflect on your exposure to global issues. When and how are you first exposed to global issues? Was it through news outlets, social media, conversations with others? And how has that exposure shaped your worldview and influenced your sense of responsibility? Do you feel overwhelmed by solving these global issues? Next, assess your source of information. Do you actively seek out information on global problems, or does it tend to find you passively? And how much time are you spending actually consuming this information about issues that you really can't directly impact? By controlling your focus and deciding which sources of information are valuable and which ones are distractions, you can help start to limit this exposure. The next is recognizing these calls to actions. Identify if there's any specific movements or causes that have urged you to act. And I'm not talking about grand societal issues. It could be something that you just heard in your community. Are you motivated by these calls to action? Do they leave you feeling reactive rather than proactive? Assess the validity of the causes. Do they align with your local capacity to act, or are they just going to create more stress in your life? The next is find your personal desire for change. Acknowledge your desire to make an impact. Is it focused and realistic for where you are in life right now? Is this something that you can put in the I have an actionable course right now bucket, or in the this is something I'm passionate about, but I need to table for a later date bucket? Consider how your current life circumstances allow you to contribute to that change. And finally, look for the local application. This is about the smallest, most immediate step you can take. Think of one actionable step, just one, that you can take in your immediate environment that aligns with whatever this issue that you've found passion in. And it has to be the absolute smallest step you can take, because that is the one that's going to create the compound effect for the next task, the next thing that you can do. Simplify your action by breaking it down into that small step. By starting small, it ensures that it's manageable and sustainable over time. We've all felt the pressure, feeling like we have to be the ones to solve the world's problems, whether it's the endless cries about climate change that will kill us all, or poverty, or political instability. But the truth is that change, it starts with you. What's happening out there, it doesn't affect your day-to-day life. It starts with your community, your habits, your relationships, and the actions that you can take in your immediate environment. Personal development and local impact are the true foundations for greater societal change. By improving your own life first, you create the momentum to inspire others around you. Small, consistent actions within your reach are what create real change. Not in your world, but eventually in the broader world. Remember, the weight of global issues will always be there, but you can make a real difference by focusing on what's within your control. When you do that, you'll find clarity and purpose in your work, and you'll have the energy to focus and contribute to something greater over time. I want to hear from you. Share your thoughts. How can you make your world better? What are your actions in your journey with the Chasing Masculinity community? Thank you for tuning in today. If you haven't already, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with somebody who might need it. Until next time, keep chasing.